Anyways, we had the dray man came and brought it to the house, and all the kids were running on the road beside the dray. And then they put me on the bike, and of course my feet were like a foot away from the pedals, and so they were all pushing me, and they were trying to push me across the street from our corner house to the house across the street, and I didn't know what to do, and I wasn't, they were just pushing me, and the next thing I knew, the bike wound up hitting a telephone pole, so we wound up having a broken wheel. So that was kind of the end of my bike, and so I guess that's one reason I never learned how to really ride a bike.
Do you remember Nanny visiting you very much?
Oh yes, I think she was coming out all the time. I don't know whether the buses were running then or whether she was getting rides, because people, 9/10 of the people in the town didn't have a phone. You had to phone somewhere and tell somebody to get someone to come to a phone in the restaurant or wherever. And I can't remember where, but...
Did Bill ever have a phone in any of those places?
He had in the lumber yard. No, we never had a telephone.
Why did he choose to live in Waka?
Well, I think he started working maybe during the holidays from school. He was working in a lumberyard in Rostern, and then because he seemed to be good in math and that, probably because you've got to do a lot of measuring and stuff for lumber, that's how come he wound up getting the job managing the lumberyard in Waka.
How many years older is he than his wife?
Well, I can't remember now. I'd have to look up on the
Was it something
obit
like
card.
13?
I would say he probably was maybe 8 or 10 years older.
So he was born in 1899, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So she was probably born around 1910. So she's not
Well, she
actually...
wasn't much older than I was.
Yeah. So...
She was just a young girl.
Do you remember what year they married?
No. Have to find that out.
Was Alec born in 27? Is that right?
22, yeah, and 27.
So they might have got married about 26? Or was it that she was 13 when they married?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, so... Okay. So I'm trying to think. So she might have only been 16 when she was pregnant?
Yeah, she might not have been as old as that, even.
And did you ever land up visiting any of her relatives?
No.
Where did they meet?
I think Uncle Bill had been working probably in a lumber yard up, I think it was called Brooksby, if I remember. I guess Willie would likely know some history about them. And that's where he met her.
Why do you think it was Bill and Ann that raised you? As opposed to...
Well, I know I lived with them because Mom had come to Saskatoon to find work, and she knew if she was working, she wouldn't be able to look after me because there was nobody here that she even knew, as far as I know. And so to go to school, you had to be living in the place where to go to school, you had to live in the place where you were attending school. So that's how come I stayed with Uncle Bill.
I had wondered if it was either because Bill was Nanny's closest relative and that's why she asked him, or could it be because they didn't have any kids of their own that they didn't mind raising?
Well, maybe at the time. I don't remember whether Alec was born by then or not. Because I don't remember what year I went to live with them. Sometime before school started, in any case.
Do you remember, did you get to go to Saskatoon very much as a kid to visit?
No, maybe 2 or 3 times a year, maybe.
And so would you travel with Nanny or with Bill? How would you get to the city?
Well, I would have come with someone because I don't know that we had a bus transit at that time, you know. I'm sure they didn't. Always had to depend on somebody that could take you back and forth.
Do you remember as a kid any chores, anything that you really liked or really didn't like doing?
No, there was always something to do, and there were 3 young boys, and I mean there was lots of washing, although nobody had more than probably, I think during the hard times, I can remember I wore the same dress likely 2 or 3 days in a week, and then I had one good dress that Mom had made me that I wore on Sundays.
Did you ever get to do things such as go to the candy store and spend a nickel or anything?
No. When I had a nickel, I was sent to go to the store to get a pound of butter for a nickel. A loaf of bread from the Chinese restaurant for a nickel. And we thought that was a big treat to get a loaf of bought bread. And it was because Uncle Bill didn't have enough money to buy a bag of flour. That's how tough things were in those days. And I remember one time going to the, what was it called? A co-op store, I think. And it was about 3 blocks from the house. And I went to get a dozen eggs. And they put a dozen eggs in a paper bag, brown paper bag. And I can remember I was almost at the gate to open the gate, and I was kind of skipping and holding the bag, and the next thing I knew, I'd fallen, and here were these eggs all over, well, I don't, it seemed to me it was a wooden sidewalk. Anyways, I can remember I cried and cried and cried. Here I am breaking a whole dozen eggs. Yeah. Yeah, those were tough, tough days for everybody.
Did you do any sewing?
No, never did any sewing.
Did you make anything?
No, I can't remember making anything.
What time would you get up every day?
Can't relate.
When the boys were finally born, who slept with who, and how many rooms did you have?
Yeah, well, in that big house, well, in the small bungalow, I think we had 2 beds in the 1 bedroom. So there would be 4 of us that likely slept there, or depending on, I guess. Well, see, by the time we got, just before I left, Willie was only when I left, Willie was just a young fellow.